Welcome to the second video in my custom new build Airbnb series, where I teach you all the dirty secrets to how I accomplished becoming one of the #1 Airbnbs in the market. I'm gonna show you all the secret soup. I'm literally gonna show you into my bag of tricks. So if you wanna reach into the bag of tricks, hit that subscribe, hit that like button, do me a solid, because this is all the secret sauce. And if you wanted to come do this next to me, you could, but please don't. I'm gonna teach you how to do this anywhere in the country, which is to do amazing custom builds that earn top tier revenue. So if you watched my last video series, I broke down the first 1 year of performance and how I did it for my cabin and geodome, aka the home and dome. And this is the follow-up to that build. This, I think, is an improvement on many different angles, and I think it's gonna make even more money. So I'm excited to show you guys the design, the strategy, the projections, and some B-rolls of the land and what it's gonna look like. So let's break it down. So I'm calling this house the Cube House. And if you haven't, you should go back and watch the first video in this series, because I'm gonna skip over some stuff in this, like how I found the land, the market analysis, and we're gonna get just to the bones of this new structure and what makes it so much better, or even incrementally better than my last one. So let's skip the why, financial independence, all that stuff, the how, and let's just go to the what for this project, which is another single family, custom, large occupancy Airbnb. It's gonna be 1,800 square feet like the last project, but that 1,800 square feet included the geodome. And we're not gonna put any sleeping occupancy in ADUs this time, but I do have some secrets up my sleeve to show you. But it's gonna have high-end amenities, unique features like floor-to-ceiling glass windows you can see in this picture. And the amenities I'm putting on are the Bubble Dome ADU for stargazing. And we're putting a hot tub with a pergola and a fire pit. And we'll break that down a little bit more later. And that's what makes it better than the last one. We're making the structure bigger, more permanent sleeping space, and we're upgrading the amenities. And we're having it sleep even more people. So instead of a $450,000 build, this one's gonna cost even more. This is gonna push the upper limit over what you can build a house for in this corner of Colorado, which is about $350 a square foot, or for 1,800 square feet, it's about $575,000. We're actually approved up to $600K with our contingency on this. And the cash to launch, last project was about $170. This one's gonna cost about $180. Despite being more expensive, we're gonna try to come out of pocket and put more on the loan for things like the geodome and maybe even furnishings if we can fit it in there. So that 180 breaks down into a down payment, closing cost, and construction interest, 115, 120,000, furniture, maybe 40, and the rest is setups and reserves. So it's not cheap to do a project like this. That's probably why you get to be one of the top units when you do it, because you're investing more than your competition. But it's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and you have to invest to win. You have to invest in XFactors. Now, if you watch John Bianchi, the head data guy at TechVestor, I'll link his channel right here, I'm a big fan of his, he says that if you produce unique structures, which are hard to define, that on average, they produce 3x the average revenue of normal units in a market. And I have validated that out with the Home in the Dome. The Home in the Dome makes $95K, and the average 4-bedroom in Crestone makes $35K. So I wanted to recreate that again with this property. So I brought those same X factors, but I improved them. The hot tub, it's gonna be on a concrete pad. Add a pergola, or add some string lights to it. The unique structure, instead of this geodome, we're gonna go with the Bubble Dome, which is a clear dome with curtains. That's not gonna be for sleeping, it's just gonna be for stargazing, because it was difficult to make the geodome a perfectly comfortable experience all year round. In the summer, it gets really hot, and in the winter, it gets really cold. And despite our best efforts with heating and cooling equipment, I just can't keep it perfectly comfortable at night all year round. So instead of making it a sleeping space, it's more of an outdoor enjoyment space. Even if it's cold or hot, you don't have to be forced to sleep in it if it's not really comfortable at the time. And it's also cheaper to not have to put utilities in an ADU. But we're adding huge banks of windows, way bigger windows than my last build. We're still having huge epic mountain views, and we're still having large capacity. So we're following the same X factors that I followed on my last build, and if you want to do something similar, these are the X factors to hit. They are what I consistently see top performing Airbnbs use. But the research and planning, you should watch the last one if you want to go more into depth, but Luckily, with 1 year of historical revenue and not wanting to recreate the wheel, I can expand again in the same area where I have a house. I can buy a plot of land less than a mile away and do this next project. So that's what I'm doing. I'm building again in the Boca Grande, which is outside of Crestone, Colorado, and I'm doing another custom Airbnb. I have a team there, I know the data, and I have a lot of historicals. And I still see that there's the potential for growth. And when you want to expand in an area, you should make sure there's the potential for growth. And we went through this data in my last video about the house and the dome, but you want to make sure revenue and demand is growing faster than supply. And that will cause everyone's revenue to slightly grow over time. And it means there's some built up pent-up demand that the current supply cannot accommodate. Other analysis I'd like to add to this video I didn't do in the last one was just some simple ways you could calculate saturation. I think occupancy and looking at long-term occupancy is the very simplest way. If occupancy starts really going down, there's way too many units, or if revenue per unit goes down. But I like to look at the ratio of supply and demand. The nights booked versus the number of listings. You can turn that into a fraction, or you can turn that into the number of nights per month booked per listing. So you can see the pandemic, everything spiked, occupancy, nights booked per month spiked, and it's back to normal. But if you compare that to pre-pandemic and the revenue per unit is still growing in Crestone, and revenue is growing faster than demand like we saw. So my data suggests that this is still a good market, but it's questionable how many units I can expand. Which is why if you're watching this video, you should probably find your own Crestone. You should probably not come into my backyard because existing houses are not profitable and there's only a few builders and they're my contractors. But you can find your own undercover market that has average things, and you can put in a top tier unit anywhere in the US, especially drive to markets from major cities. Draw that radius around you, and you could do something similar if you recreate this analysis. If you create a customer avatar like we did for the last one, you know who they are. People that come to Chicago come from the states surrounding it to see family and to party. People that come to my house in Colorado, they drive from Denver with their family. They're high earners that want to stay in a luxury stay, and they want to bring their kids and they want to bring their dogs, and they're willing to pay extra to bring their pets. So I know, again, I have the same customer avatar, I have the same attraction for this Airbnb, and now I get to go back into a design phase and say, how do I improve on the home in the dome? Well, I still love the home in the dome concept, but maybe let's do a bigger home with more unique features. Less of a modern cabin and more of a spaceship or something, with a guiding principle of someone saying, what would make someone say, that's so cool, like I want to go have an experience there, I'm willing to pay extra for that. And I like these huge bank floor to ceiling glass windows like they have in skyscrapers. I don't think you see those in houses, especially with great views of the mountains. So my builder design, this is the first version of it, but you need to go within certain constraints. And the constraints you need to think about, other than what's so cool, is like, what is reasonable? What can be built within the upper end of the price per square foot in the area? What is the most expensive houses even sell for in that area? These are all constraints that you will have on your build, because you will try, like me, to build the most unique thing that has walls that go like this, and your builder will tell you, we cannot do that unless you have all cash, and you want to just put the money down without caring about the value of the property for an appraisal. So you have to play a little game if you want to put 20% down. What are houses worth? What's the coolest thing I can build that's still valued and the same amount that normal houses are, which don't have crazy towers, which I tried to do on this build, which is really difficult. You add a bunch of siding costs, you multiply your siding without getting more efficient on the amount of square footage as opposed to one structure. So I wanted to add a tower to that original design, and it was gonna cost a little bit over $600K, and I tried to connect them with a deck. Ultimately, we decided to move back to the one single structure, and we took this 1,200 square foot, which is that 3D you see, and I scaled it up to 1,800 square feet to have a single structure. You can see the second floor here, where we have the stairs that come up to this big open floor space, kitchen, living room, dining room, with a bathroom and an office / bedroom. And on the first floor, similar to the last house, it's kind of like you come into a hallway, you can put your stuff in the bedrooms, and then it kind of funnels you to this second floor, which is the open group hangout area. So you can see some renderings of what this house looks like, the interior, the exterior, some fly-through shots. The land was a little bit simpler than last time, again, because I needed to just go in the same area. So my builder owned a bunch of plots. This time, I didn't buy it off the open market. I bought it directly off of him, off market, for market price. 20K an acre, about the same as what I paid 2 years ago. And the land was on Jubilant Way, 1 block away from my other house. So easy to manage them two together. And I know it's a good area for Airbnb. So 2 years after the first plot of land, 1 year after I launched the first house, I bought the plot for the second one. And I finished this amenity plan, which we've talked about, which is the hot tub and the pergola. Probably budget 12 to 15K for that. If you go with a used hot tub, or smaller one, you could save maybe 5-10K off that max. I think the stargazing bubble dome, so cool. I keep seeing these in Joshua Tree. There's a standalone one that got taken down. There's one in someone's backyard in Joshua Tree. They don't even show the house, they just show the bubble dome 5 times and they sell $500 a night. So I think those bubble domes, which are on Alibaba for $2,000 without shipping. Go to Alibaba, type in bubble domes, get a quote from the supplier. The shipping is probably the most expensive part of that thing. And the deck can't cost more than $10,000. Slap that on, 15K bubble dome. And the fire pit with chairs, just gravel, rocks, 8 different folding chairs, and a fire pit. This is the consistent formula that I see best-in-class Airbnbs launching their amenities with. And it's a slight upgrade. I didn't have a fire pit in the last one. The geodome was better than the bubble dome, but the bubble dome is kind of newer, and the house is better than the previous house. So I just put more effort into the house here while retaining some of those unique things. But adding things like pergolas on the hot tubs and additional space around the fire, and maybe even a cornhole court if we have an extra $4,000 to throw around. But you should be making a plan like this. Like, you can buy an average house as an Airbnb today if you're willing to put $30,000 into the backyard, into this set of amenities. It will allow you to double everything in its market. You can go a random house in Indiana and put this bubble dome in the backyard. I guarantee you'll make $75,000 to $100,000. So try this with your Airbnbs. This is the formula. In the financial analysis, my projections, which is not based off historicals, is to make hopefully about 20% more. It's 180K to do this. Maybe 115 to 120K revenue, and at an 8% interest rate, it's a bit more expensive. So 35K net income, 30K cash flow with a 12% cash on cash, down 5% from last year, but still pretty good compared to all other products.